Hi guys, MrRoflWaffles here. Don't let Treyarch fool you. Don't let them do it. There are multiple new teasers out right now, and a lot of people are saying that they're relating Der Eisendrache to Alpha Omega. They're specifically just for zombies and all that sort of stuff, and I don't think that's the case. I think there's actually something else going on here. So I'm going to go through each teaser in turn and explain the interesting stuff, and then explain what exactly I think we're actually looking at. There is some really cool stuff in here, but you're going to have to watch through the whole video to see it all. So, the first teaser shows a mishmash of different zombies-related things. You've got the plinth from 9 in the bottom left. You've got that blueprint in the top left that's showing the chaos theory. You've got yet another kind of blueprinty type thing in the back in the middle there. You've then got a gramophone, very Origins-y, very just ether-y, really. And then on the right-hand side, you have this computer terminal, which is showing a variety of videos. One of them appears to be a cutout like you would see at a theme park, where you can stick your head in and then take a photo and it looks like you're part of the bigger image. You've got that with the cosmic silverback. It then switches over and you've got what looks like the asylum, so the entrance to Verrucht Asylum. It then switches, and this shot is fascinating, and I think I'm going to have to make a separate video about this just specifically, but is the MPD. Like, it's the MPD, but it's in space, which is very cool. And then you switch to Dead of the Night, and you've got the statue of, I guess, Atlas there, and then you've got a Pack-a-Punch machine, and then you switch, and it's maybe Alpha Omega, maybe, because it's what looks like a doll from Nuketown. So what we're seeing across this teaser, holistically looking at it, is a mishmash of stuff from everywhere. And we can categorically say that Ether and Chaos are not connected. They are absolutely not connected. And as such, it only really makes sense for this to be either an MP map or a blackout map. And I'm leaning towards potentially blackout here. I think that this would be a cool thing to have in a blackout map, but it's absolutely possible that it is MP. There's nothing really pushing me one way or the other for this, but I don't think it's zombies specific. This second teaser, though, is the one that has been getting everyone's knickers in a twist. So let's talk about what's interesting in the teaser. Right in the bottom left, you can very obviously see a giant robot. And when we, as the zombies community, think a giant robot, we think Origins, and then we think, okay, where else have the giant robots been? The Giant, right? And then we think, okay, Der Eisen, because you've got the giant robot crashed into the mountain on Der Eisen. We also maybe think Gorod Krovi, for example, things like that. The giant robots have been around. They've had their fair share of time in zombies maps. So we've got a giant robot in the bottom left. What else is interesting here? Well, we've got this switch in the middle, which switches, and when it does so, something moves in the kind of center left side of the image. I've seen speculation that that is Reaper moving from being in a tree down to the snow or something like that. I disagree. I think that this is the claw of a giant robot. I think you can actually see the hinge pretty clearly, and it then goes back up to where it was when the switch goes back, so I'm going to go ahead and just assume that this is a giant robot claw that you can potentially activate by turning that switch in this map, wherever this might be. Then in the bottom right, we've got a little screen that I don't think we can make any information out on. In the top right, we've got this blue glow effect, and I've seen different theories for this. One theory being that this is a mystery box glow that's going on here. Another theory being that it kind of looks like the DE kind of buyable doors floating 115 kind of effect. That's the vibe I get, but I've definitely seen other people saying it looks kind of mystery boxy. And then the last main thing to note is the fact that in the center of the image, we have these two stained glass windows. Now, where, for example, have we seen these sorts of stained glass windows before? Well, in the Infection map in Black Ops 3, you see stained glass windows like this in the church, so sort of alarm bells might be ringing there. That map was set in a village in France, and that church is actually present as well, I believe, in the campaign of the game in the same sort of area. It's the whole flashback sequence that you go through. You end up with the, like, 935 tank and stuff as well. It's all really cool. That's definitely the vibe that is being given off by these stained glass windows. That info, though, doesn't really gel with the kind of DE almost link that you get from that 115 glowing in the top right. And so maybe this is, for example, the village that Der Eisendrache was kind of attached to, that we never explored, that was at the bottom of the gondolas, but maybe this is a church near there. And then we think, okay, we've got the giant robot, so that still seems to fit the theory, but the problem is, it all comes crumbling down when we realize that the caption for the tweet gives us some coordinates, and when we get those coordinates and we plug them in, they take us to Austria. And where is DE? oh wait, it's in Austria. So it still seems to line up until you actually track the distance between this part of Austria and the DE part of Austria, which is Hohenwerfen Castle, which we specifically have the coordinates for because Treyarch gave them to us before DE even came out in the Shadows of Evil scrap. Yeah, it's been a while. We can see that these two places are miles away from each other. Miles and miles. So that's awkward then, right? Because Infection was set in France. This is Austria because the coordinates point us very clearly to Austria, to Eisenstadt specifically, and there aren't a lot of other things that are in Austria that fit all of the criteria here. Are we inside the visor of the giant robot? Potentially, for sure. Is this a giant robot or is it not even that? I think it is. I think it is a giant robot, but I don't think that this is a DE link in really the slightest. The only thing that I could think that this could be a actual DE link to could be that this is on the path of the giant as it was roaming around, or potentially as well, this is a facility where the giants are being constructed. That could be cool. However, I think that it is still a little weird then that you've got this one switch that makes the hand go down like that, unless they're using the giants to help them build something, or construct something, or move things, something like that. It almost reminds me of being in an arcade and you get the claw that goes down and grabs things, except you're using a claw that's attached to a 20,000 foot tall giant robot. Ugh. That's all well and good, me saying, oh, well, these don't seem to be related to zombies because I can't figure out a theory that fits all of the pieces of information that we have present in the teaser, but there's another reason that applies to both of these teasers, by the way, that suggests that this is not actually zombies related at all, or rather that it's not for the zombies mode, it's just for MP or Blackout. And that's that in all the zombies teasers that we've had so far from Treyarch, I believe all of them have had the hashtag zombies hashtag added, as well as hashtag Black Ops 4. That I would expect is going to continue and be even more strictly followed now that they've announced that the next operation is going to be multiplayer and Blackout and zombies all experiencing a zombies outbreak. And I really think that they're going to try and make a clear distinction between the different modes by using that hashtag or not. The problem is that they don't use the hashtag here. There is no hashtag zombies, and so it seems more like this would be for the rest of the Black Ops 4 game, and that would mean it's either MP or Blackout. Now, one idea that Newbie had is that maybe if it is a mystery box, then it's Blackout. If that's what that blue light is, then it sort of makes sense, right? Obviously, there are the blue spores in the air. That seems to be something else entirely, I would say, but the bluish kind of glow that is quite centralized on the right-hand side, maybe that is just a Blackout mystery box, and that's the reason we're seeing it in the first place. The idea of it being Blackout, though, doesn't really gel with the idea that they're giving us coordinates, or at least certainly in my opinion of the way the Blackout mode is structured. I don't think they would necessarily say, this is a location, but that location is being brought into this map that doesn't have a coordinate system like that in the slightest. Do you see what I'm saying? So my personal gut feeling right now is that this is MP. Now, Pride made a really good point that those switches that you can turn wouldn't necessarily make the same kind of sense in a Blackout map, whereas in an MP map, absolutely, because you could use those to grief players. If you're inside the robot's head and you see someone running along a little walkway, crush them. Why the hell not? But in Blackout, much less likely to do it. I know there are going to be people that say, but MrRoflWaffles, it's snowy and you've got that kind of blue glow in the air which feels very DE and it's a giant robot and it's crashed as well, so it must be DE, but I'm just convinced at this point, unfortunately, because it would be really cool, but I'm convinced at this point that the different pieces of information, when you put them together, just do not lead us to the conclusion that it's DE, unfortunately. And they don't really link to Alpha Omega either. I mean, Alpha Omega isn't going to be snowy, right? We already know that one. That is indeed something that I can confirm. Hashtag spoilers. Or at least I'm not expecting it to be snowy. And so yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say this is not a DE teaser, and it's not actually even necessarily for the zombies mode. Now, what I think would be really important to talk about briefly is, okay, if this is a Blackout teaser or a multiplayer teaser, and there's zombie stuff in there, is any of it canon? Anything? Is there any canon stuff in there at all? Because various things from zombies have turned up in multiplayer over the years. Edward Richter's books, for example, are all over all sorts of multiplayer maps. In fact, they're in Nuketown, which is a link that I hadn't even thought of until now, which is pretty funny. There's always kind of this fog that surrounds any overlap that we get because Treyarch like to hint things in their multiplayer maps, but I don't think they like those hints to be canon, if that makes sense. So, as an example, the Samantha's House video that I made with Infection way back during Black Ops 3, that was like a really cool thing that they did. Like, it was a very, very awesome zombies nod, but at the same time, it wasn't necessarily canon zombies information, or at least it ended up turning out to not really be canon zombies info. And so, yes, they're going to have giant robots here, but I don't know if we can really say, oh, so they had a facility building the robots in Austria in Eisenstadt. I just don't know if we can confidently say that. I don't think that's the way Treyarch are going to be developing the zombies mode here. They're just going to be saying, zombies is so rich in terms of its lore and fan engagement and what people like in terms of the aesthetic and just the rich backstory. And so why not pull from that and stick those in multiplayer maps or whatever, boost the nostalgia a little bit and just boost the interest and get people combing through a little bit more than they might otherwise do. I think that's probably what they're going for here, and so I just, again, like I said, don't think this is zombies. So I don't want to be a party pooper. I just want to make sure that people aren't confused about this, because I was confused. When I saw this teaser for the first time, I tweeted out and I was like, guys, I don't know what's going on here. Like, this doesn't make sense to me because I don't think it's DE and blah, blah, blah. And people very quickly said, Milo, doesn't have the zombies hashtag, doesn't have any real cohesive story to what's going on in the whole thing. The other teaser they put out today is also going to be MP or Blackout. And so really at this point, just all the cogs, coins, cards, all the coins are stacked against this being zombies. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. Drop a like if you've enjoyed. Just wanted to clear that up, and I'll have more stuff coming for you tomorrow. See you then. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss those videos. Bye for now.